You never really know how powerful someone is until you see them in trouble. That's what I learned the day my cousin got a letter that almost turned his life upside down. It wasn't from the police, not from a bank, but from the HOA, yes, the Homeowners Association. The same people who once waved at him every morning were now threatening to sue him. And the craziest part? He's the mayor's son. If you've ever dealt with unfair rules or watched someone use power the wrong way, stay with me till the end. Because this story will make you question what's right, what's fair, and how pride can destroy peace faster than anything else. I still remember that morning like it happened yesterday. The sun was soft, the street was quiet, and my cousin Sam was sitting on his porch, sipping coffee like any normal day. He had just finished repainting his fence, a clean white, just like the rest of the neighborhood. But little did he know that simple fence would soon start a war. Sam had always been polite, the kind of man who said good morning even to people who ignored him. He had lived in that neighborhood for more than 15 years, paid every bill, attended every HOA meeting, and helped whenever someone needed a hand. But one thing about Sam, he didn't like being told what to do, especially when he knew he hadn't done anything wrong. A few days after the paint dried, he found a bright yellow envelope in his mailbox. "Violation notice," it said in big, bold letters. The HOA claimed his fence color was too bright and didn't match community standards. They gave him 10 days to repaint it or face a fine. At first, Sam laughed. "They must be joking," he said. "It's the same color it's been for 10 years. But the HOA wasn't joking. They sent another letter, then another, and soon after came the threat of a lawsuit. Now here's where it gets messy. You see, Sam's father, Mr. Johnson, was the mayor of our small town. Everyone knew that. And while some people respected it, others hated it. Some said Sam got away with too much because of his father. Others said the HOA was jealous and wanted to teach him a lesson. Whatever it was, that fence became a symbol of something much bigger than paint. It became about pride. The meetings started getting heated. Neighbors whispered behind his back. Some said he should just follow the rule and move on. Others said it was unfair. If they could repaint their homes without trouble, why couldn't he? But Sam wasn't the kind of man to back down easily. "I'm not repainting that fence," he told me one night, his voice shaking with anger. "Not because of the money, but because of the principle. They think they can bully me because of my last name. But I'll show them that even the mayor's son can stand his ground." I could see how much it was eating him up. He wasn't sleeping well. His wife was worried. His little boy asked why people were talking about their house. It was heartbreaking. A peaceful life was slowly turning into a public fight. A few days later, the HOA president, Mrs. Turner, a sharp-tongued woman in her 70s, came knocking. She had a thick binder in her arms and a look that could cut glass. "Samuel," she said, "we've been patient long enough." The board voted. "You either repaint that fence or we take you to court." Sam smiled politely. "Then I guess I'll see you in court." That's when it really began. The news spread like wildfire. "HOA sues the mayor's son," the headline said. People couldn't believe it. Some laughed, others gasped. Suddenly, everyone had an opinion. Talk shows mentioned it. Local radio stations ran debates. And my cousin, who once just wanted to enjoy his morning coffee, was now the center of a storm he never asked for. I visited him the night after the story broke. He looked tired but calm. There was a strange fire in his eyes. "You know," he said quietly, "it's funny. They think I'm fighting them because I'm proud. But I'm fighting them because I'm tired of people thinking they can control everything." I didn't say much. I just sat there listening. The clock ticked. The wind moved softly through the trees. And I realized something deep that night. Sometimes standing up for what's right isn't about winning. It's about not letting people walk over you, even if it costs you peace. A week later, Sam's mailbox was full again, letters of support from people all across town. Some said, "Good for you, Sam." Others sent prayers, but not everyone was kind. The HOA doubled down. They filed official paperwork and demanded $5,000 in fines for repeated violations. Still, Sam didn't back down. He called his lawyer. He gathered his documents. And for the first time in his life, he realized that doing the right thing often comes with a heavy price, midsection emotional reflection. For those who are older and have seen life's ups and downs, you know what I mean when I say peace isn't cheap. It's easy to tell someone, just give in. It's not worth the fight. But when you've spent your whole life building something, your name, your values, your peace, you don't just give it up because someone threatens you. That's what Sam was feeling. It wasn't about offense. It was about respect. It was about not letting small-minded people decide how he lived in his own home. And deep down, I think we all have a Sam inside us. That part of us that refuses to bow when we know we're right. A few days later, something unexpected happened. The mayor, Sam's father, got involved, but not the way people expected. He didn't use his power to stop the HOA. He told Sam, "Son, this is your fight. I can't fight it for you. But I can tell you one thing, win it with dignity. Don't lose your temper. Don't lose your kindness. Let the truth speak for itself." Those words stuck with him, and they changed the way he handled everything that followed. Sam started recording every conversation. He collected every notice, every message, every rule the HOA had ever sent. He read the community guidelines back and forth and found something shocking. The rule they were suing him over wasn't even updated. It was an old clause from 10 years ago, before he even moved in. He had them cornered, but instead of lashing out, he waited, calmly, patiently. Because as his father said, dignity wins slower, but it wins stronger. You can tell a person's true strength not when life is calm, but when everything turns against them. And in those days, everything turned against Sam. The HOA had started their war, and they were ready to make an example out of him. CTA after hook. If you've ever been in a situation where people tried to drag you down for no reason, this part of the story will speak straight to your heart. Stay till the end. Because what Sam did next wasn't just smart, it was powerful. When the official lawsuit arrived, it felt unreal. A thick stack of papers with his name printed in bold letters. Defendant, Samuel Johnson. Sam held the papers in his hands for a long moment. "They really did it," he whispered. His wife Linda looked pale. "What are we going to do, Sam?" she asked softly. He sighed, took her hand, and said, "We'll fight with truth." That night, the house was quiet. Only the sound of the clock echoed in the living room. Sam didn't sleep. He sat by his desk reading every word of that lawsuit. They accused him of violating HOA bylaws, disrupting community harmony, and even disrespecting board authority. But he saw something they didn't expect: mistakes. Dates didn't match. Clauses were copied from outdated documents. Some of their claims had no legal base. And Sam knew right then he wasn't just defending his fence. He was defending fairness itself. The next morning, he met with his lawyer, a calm, older man named Mr. Harris. He had silver hair, round glasses, and a voice that carried quiet wisdom. After reading through everything, Mr. Harris smiled slightly and said, "Sam, they've made a mess. They think you'll settle or give up. But you have more ground than they do." Sam nodded, relief washing over him. But he also knew the battle was just beginning. A week later, the HOA meeting was packed. The room was full of neighbors, some curious, some angry, some just there for gossip. At the front sat Mrs. Turner with her usual cold smile, surrounded by her board members. Sam stood up slowly when they called his name. His voice was calm but firm. "I want to make one thing clear," he said. "I didn't break any rule. The color of my fence has been approved in this neighborhood for years. You changed your rule book but never told homeowners. And now you're punishing me for something I didn't even know about." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Mrs. Turner cleared her throat. "Mr. Johnson, we expect compliance, not arguments." Sam looked straight into her eyes. "And I expect honesty, not intimidation." Some people gasped. Others started clapping softly. For the first time, someone had spoken back to the HOA. And that too with dignity. But that moment of courage came with consequences. The very next day, the HOA fined him again, this time double. They called his fence a symbol of defiance. Can you imagine? A fence, just paint on wood! But to them, it was now a war of power and pride. Sam didn't lose his cool. He took photos, collected every fine, and built his case slowly, carefully, quietly. As the court date approached, things got ugly. Rumors started spreading. Lies about Sam being privileged, arrogant, and spoiled because of his father. People who once waved to him stopped making eye contact. One afternoon, I found him sitting on the porch staring at the same fence that started it all. He said softly, "You know what hurts most? It's not the money or the lawsuit, it's seeing people I helped turn their backs on me." I nodded, understanding every word. That's how life often is. When trouble comes, truth stands alone. Linda came outside with 2 cups of tea and said, "Maybe this fight isn't just about the fence. Sam, maybe it's about showing people what integrity looks like." Her words hit deep. Sam smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said, "maybe it is." Finally, the day came. The courtroom was small but tense. On one side sat the HOA board, Mrs. Turner with her stack of binders, whispering to her lawyer. On the other side sat Sam, calm but firm, holding a folder full of evidence. The judge, an older man with a kind face, looked at both sides. "Let's begin," he said. The HOA's lawyer spoke first, listing every violation, every fine, every supposed rule. He painted Sam as a troublemaker, someone who refused to follow community guidelines. When it was Sam's turn, he stood up slowly. His hands didn't shake. His voice was steady. "Your Honor," he began, "I've lived in that neighborhood for over 15 years. I've followed every rule, paid every fee, and helped maintain the peace. This isn't about offense. It's about being targeted unfairly because of who my father is. But here's the truth. These rules they're suing me under, they weren't even updated in our official documents. I have copies from the HOA's own records showing the old clause still in effect." He placed the papers on the table. The courtroom went silent again. The judge leaned forward, reading them carefully. Mrs. Turner's face turned pale. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. It was clear they'd been caught. After a long pause, the judge spoke firmly. "It appears the HOA enforced an outdated regulation. This case should never have reached court. I'm dismissing the lawsuit effective immediately." Sam exhaled deeply, relief flooding his face. He didn't smile. He just closed his eyes for a moment, like a man finally at peace. The HOA members looked stunned. Mrs. Turner sat frozen, her pride shattered. When we walked out of the courtroom, the sun was shining bright. People outside clapped for Sam, some shook his hand. But Sam didn't say much. He just looked at the sky and whispered, "Dad was right. Dignity wins slower, but stronger." Emotional reflection. You see, in life, we all face battles that seem small on the outside but weigh heavy on the inside. For Sam, it wasn't just a fence. It was his right to live with respect. And I think that's something everyone, especially those of us who've seen time pass, can understand. We reach a point in life where we don't fight to prove we're strong. We fight to prove we still stand for something. Before the case ended completely, Sam did something remarkable. He didn't sue the HOA back for damages, even though he could have. Instead, he requested one thing, that they hold a town meeting to review all their outdated rules and make them fair for every homeowner. He didn't want revenge. He wanted change, and that's what made him different. Sometimes real victory isn't about winning the fight. It's about what you do after you've won. That's what my cousin Sam proved to everyone, even to those who once stood against him. Because after all the shouting, the fines, and the courtroom drama, what he did next surprised the entire town. If you've ever wanted to know what true grace looks like, keep listening. This part will remind you that kindness isn't weakness, and that sometimes the quietest actions echo the loudest. The week after the court's decision, Sam's neighborhood felt different. People waved again. Cars slowed down when passing his house just to see him. Some neighbors came by to apologize for not standing with him. Others brought pies, cakes, and warm smiles like nothing had ever happened. But Sam didn't hold grudges. He never mentioned the lawsuit again. He just smiled and said, "Let's move on." Even Mrs. Turner, the HOA president, showed up one morning. Her steps were slower, her eyes softer. She looked older somehow, like the fight had drained something from her. She stood at Sam's gate and said, "Samuel, I came to say, I was wrong." Those words hung in the air for a moment. Sam looked at her kindly. "We all make mistakes, Mrs. Turner," he said gently. What matters is what we learn from them. She nodded slowly, tears glimmering in her eyes. Maybe I forgot what this job was really about. Thank you for reminding me. And in that simple exchange, no shouting, no revenge, years of tension melted away. Later that week, the town held a meeting just like Sam had requested. It wasn't a court order, it was his idea. Everyone gathered in the community hall. Old neighbors, new families, even people from nearby towns came. Sam stood at the front, not as a rebel or a troublemaker, but as a man who believed in fairness. He began softly. I don't want anyone else to go through what I went through. This isn't about me or my fence. It's about making sure no one feels bullied in their own neighborhood. He spoke calmly, like someone speaking from the heart. He asked the HOA to rewrite its rulebook with clear, updated, and fair terms that respected every homeowner. The crowd listened quietly. Some nodded. Some smiled. And when he finished, they gave him a standing ovation. Even Mrs. Turner clapped with tears in her eyes. For the first time in years, that neighborhood felt united. After the meeting, an old man walked up to Sam. He looked about 80 with silver hair and kind eyes. He said, "Son, I've lived here for 40 years. I've seen fights, I've seen pride, but I've never seen someone turn anger into wisdom like you just did. You didn't just win. You healed this place." Those words meant more to Sam than the court victory ever could. That evening, Sam sat back on his porch again. The same porch where the story began. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold. His fence still stood there white and shining, but now it meant something more. It wasn't a symbol of defiance anymore. It was a symbol of peace. He looked out at the quiet street, sipped his coffee, and smiled. When I asked him how he felt, he said, "You know, I thought this fight was about proving I was right. But now I see it was about learning when to stay calm, when to stand firm, and when to forgive." Those words hit deep, because the truth is, life isn't about avoiding battles. It's about handling them with grace. We can't stop people from being unfair, but we can choose how we respond. And that choice, that simple choice, changes everything. A few months later, the HOA officially rewrote all their rules. They made sure to include homeowner input before approving any change. They even started a neighborhood harmony committee to handle issues peacefully before they turned into conflicts. Guess who they invited to lead it? Yes, Sam. At first, he laughed. "After all that, they want me on their team?" he said. But then he smiled and agreed. If I can help bring peace, then why not? And that's exactly what he did. Today, years later, when I visit Sam's house, I still see that same white fence. It hasn't changed color. The paint may have faded a bit, but its story hasn't. Every time I look at it, I remember what it stood for: strength, dignity, and forgiveness. Sam's story became a quiet legend in town. People still talk about the mayor's son who changed the HOA, but if you ask Sam about it, he just laughs and says, "I didn't change them. I just reminded them we're all neighbors, not enemies." And maybe that's what we all need to remember. Whether it's a fence, a disagreement, or a misunderstanding, life's not about who wins. It's about who keeps their heart kind when everything pushes them to be cruel. At the end of the day, fences fade, rules change, and people come and go. But grace, that stays. If Sam's story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder that calmness isn't weakness, and forgiveness isn't defeat. Because sometimes standing tall doesn't mean standing loud, it means standing kind.